Hi friends, it's Peggy Noe from PrettyPaperCards.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here today to show you how to make a no-stamp card using some die sets. And I'm calling this card the Wreath of Peace because there's a wreath and because it has the word peace. So let's get started. We're going to start out with a piece of cinnamon cider cardstock. This is a new color this year, one of our in colors from Stampin' Up! And the piece of, this is your card base. It's cut at 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches and scored at 5 1/2. So let's go ahead and burnish those edges with a bone folder. Rather just burnish the score line. So now we have our card ready to build on. The first piece we're going to put on, and I went ahead and did this off camera because I'm going to show you some die cutting in a minute. I've already gone ahead and dry embossed another piece of cinnamon cider cardstock. It's a 4-inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of the cinnamon cider, and I've embossed it in this beautiful tin tile 3D embossing folder by Stampin' Up! This is one of my favorite embossing folders, and I just was wanting to use it. And because we have a bit of a world theme, for some reason these looked a little bit like globes to me. I don't know, it just seemed to blend into the theme. So I'm going to adhere this with multi-purpose glue to get it to lay down right on the front of my card base, and then we'll build from there. So we just lay that down and press. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is do a little bit of die cutting. So I'm going to bring out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and just today I have gotten the new magnetic plate for this machine, which is supposed to be self-healing. I've made 2 other cuts with it. One cut has disappeared completely. The most recent one was another one of the word peace, and that hasn't disappeared yet, but it's supposed to. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to take a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to place the wreath die over that, and then put my top clear plate. And we're going to run that through our machine, and we'll see if it makes an impression on the self-healing mat. Let's see. Whoops. It does make kind of an impression, but this is the one previously that disappeared, so we'll see if that disappears. And here's our wreath. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I don't know if I showed you the wreath dies. Let me show you. They're called the Wreath Builder dies, and this one goes right in here. For the holidays and really any time of year, I think this is a fabulous die set. It has so much in it. Here's a more flowery, the leaves are a little more dense and lush. You've got eggs for Easter. You've got a love for Valentine's Day. You've got pears and a partridge for Christmas. So and here are some leaves. There is a lot in this die set. It is very practical, very wonderful. Okay, so now we cut our wreath. Now the next thing we're going to cut is our word peace. And let me show you, that comes from a die set called the Joy Dies by Stampin' Up! And I'm going to try to find my word peace here. Here it is. So what this does is it's like a 3-layer. Let me pull out my catalog and I'll show you actually how this works, because it's very neat. The Joy Dies. Let's see here. It's on page 18 of the mini catalog, August to December of 2020, and here is the catalog page, and you can see, let me move the machine a little bit, you can see right here what it does. So we're going to use just the thin word. Like here you see the thin word piece. But then you can also build on it. You can do in white a little bit larger background, and then you can do a bigger, like I want to call them bubbles, because they look like just bubbles around the words. And it has the three words, joy, peace, and bright. And so you get, oh, they're called shadow dies. I just see that I made a note here. Shadow dies. I think they're neat, but today we're just going to use the word peace. And we're going to use a little, just a scrap of real red cardstock, and we're going to put our little word of peace down. You'll see how very delicate this word is when after I run it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Okay, here we go. So let's check out this self-healing part here. Okay, there's our word, and you can see where I did it before. Now to get that off, it does this not just on the magnetic mat, but on all your plates. Many times your little small thin die cut pieces will stick. And so I just usually take the piece of paper and I go in there and I slide it under the word to get it to release. Okay, so it did leave an impression, but that wreath we just did is practically gone, isn't it? Very interesting. Okay, we'll get this off to the side. And here is our little delicate word piece. I'm going to punch out a few little pieces that were left in there. You know, it's hard when you're talking about P-E-A-C-E and P-E-I-C-E all in the same video, right? Okay, so let's get started. With our finishing, we've got our base, card base, and our first layer put on. And now what we're going to do is I have a 3/4 by 4-inch piece of a designer series paper by Stampin' Up! Called World of Good. And I like it because it uses the cinnamon cider color, but it also has gold accents, and it's a map of the entire world. So we just have a little sliver of it there. And we're going to adhere it with some Stampin' Dimensionals. If it's best on these heavily embossed, deeply embossed paper, pieces of cardstock like this one, that you use the Stampin' Dimensionals for your next layer. If I would have put just glue, this layer would probably sink in and not look good. It would glue down into those grooves, and we don't want that to happen. So just take off the backs of the dimensionals, and we're going to use this little 3/4 inch piece as a backing for our word P-E-A-C-E. Okay, now we're ready to adhere our word, and I'm going to show you a little trick that I use. I don't know what you think about it or what you use to adhere these. I've got all kinds of little backings from Dimensionals all over. I don't know what you use to adhere these very thin word dies, and you can use we have foam that you can cut and put behind it, cut with it. We have adhesive sheets you can cut and put with it, and that makes it like a sticker. But I personally kind of like this method because then I can move it a little bit. So I'm using the silicone craft sheet by Stampin' Up! And a little scrap of Whisper white paper. And I'm just going to run that glue like that. And then I'm going to put my word down and press it into the glue. And I'm just using some different fingers so I don't, redo it. So there we have glue on the back. Now here's a place where it didn't get pressed down. And there's our word all ready to adhere. I don't know if you like that method, but it's what I'm using today. That's all I can say. Now this little word is a bit whimsical. It's not meant to be straight. So if you try to adhere it and think it's going to be straight, it's not. It's just a bit whimsical, so I'm just going to press it down like that. And there. Isn't that nice? I like it. I like the word peace over the world for a holiday card. I just kind of think it's a good holiday card. And now our next thing is we're ready to put our wreath on. And for this, I'm going to use mini Stampin' Dimensionals. And in order to adhere this, I'm going to put it where the leaf is attached to the ring of the wreath. I hope I'm saying that right. Because I think it's going to hold a little more sturdily. So here's another leaf that is part of the ring of the wreath. And I'm just going to put that on like that. And I'm only using about 4 mini dimensionals. It doesn't take too many, just enough to secure the wreath. And now we'll take those little backs off. That's even the hardest part, isn't it? Is getting those little tiny backs off of there. I love these wreaths in this Wreath Builder die set, especially for the holidays. Don't you just love, we love wreaths on our doors and maybe also on our fireplace mantles. Okay, so we're just going to set that down and you just press on those 4 little Stampin' Dimensionals and there's your card. Easy to make, right? And it's a no stamp Wreath of Peace card. Now just to finish it off, when we have a darker solid card base like this one of the cinnamon cider color, I think it finishes it off nicely just to put a piece of Whisper White cardstock in the center of where you are going to write your greeting. And so I'm just going to do that. This piece is cut at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I think it just fits nicely right in there. Just like that. So it looks like a really nice finished card. There is our Wreath of Peace card. And of course you can change out all the colors and you could make a green wreath and a green word peace. That might be a little brighter. But I wanted to give you this design as an option for your holiday cards. I hope you've liked it. And I would really ask that you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, Pretty Paper Cards, if you like it, and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.